Go back to the very start, sure. So I open.
All the way to the start.
Yeah.
It's brutal, man. It's so brutal.
Uh, so small. What's that? 20%? No,
What
20.
that looks
It's
like?
25. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Pon Diddy.
Yep.
So he raises. Do you ever just stick it in?
I don't think it would be a disaster, but I would call personally.
And then ace on the turn. He does this. I think he's got like a lot of wheel aces, right? That just that check raise the backdoor flush draw and the front door flush draw on the flop. So the ace is actually I felt was quite good for his range.
Yeah, it's probably not too bad. He's gonna have ace-6 of hearts. But yeah, the bet frequency, sorry, the bet sizing is just so small that we're just not gonna fold very much. So mostly what we're gonna do with the range is call. So picking hands to fold, I think you just want to pick the worst ones. We've got good shots, but we probably should have some like pocket sixes with a heart that need to defend. We're gonna have. You might want to jam like kings on the flop, but if you ever show up with, kings, jacks, tens on the turn, those are probably gonna come out before this. So this is probably a little bit too strong to fold.
I folded anyway.
I don't think it's going to be worth much, but I just think the bet size is too small. Or is it 25%? So we're going to be folding 20%. You might get there with the 20% with just like king 10, king jack. We can run this in Prometheus though if you want. I'll share my screen.
Yeah. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dee-doo.
Sign in. How are these hands looking? The hands are in. Perfect. I may have to re-sub, but we'll find out. So under the gun, small blind, big blind, 20 bigs. What was the flop again? Just queen 9 deuce, 2 hearts up top.
Good memory.
Something like that. He's got some leads. Cool to see. I wouldn't have led much on the queen 9 deuce, but obviously those Broadway boards for the small blind row is going to be decent. Do you know what? Before we see the answer, we might have some jams on the flop in position, which might sound a little bit ridiculous.
That's not
But
that
when you look at a board
ridiculous,
like
to be honest.
Jack 10 deuce, you're gonna probably see some jams at 20, which we didn't really touch on. Queen 9 deuce,
Well, I did
obviously
ask,
it's not a good board, but
would you ever jam when he check
sorry, what I
raised?
mean is open
Oh,
jam.
sorry, just
Best thing.
jam. All
Yeah,
right.
like checks to us, we jam.
Okay, yeah.
So when you look at 20 big blinds, small blind, big blind in the pot, these kind of double high card boards with the deuce, the two-tone ones are a part of that as well. Those are some of the boards we have jams, and when it comes in, it's quite a big part of the strategy. But I think it's mainly going to be the Jack 10 deuce and the 10 9 deuce rather than this. But yeah, we can take a look. Just going for B50. I would have bet small a lot personally, just because of the stack depth. But I like B50. Queen 10. You can go either way. You can bet small. You can check. He made it like 3x, right?
Yeah.
I think we should probably go for this one. Big blind's obviously got a super high fold frequency, not too surprising. Basically just playing the nuts.
Shove.
Yeah, Queen 10's jamming. Queen 10 offsuits. Calling. Queen 8's calling. King Queen with the King of Hearts. Doesn't need as much protection, it's just calling. Yeah, I wouldn't have jammed this much in game, to be honest. Like, I feel like the EV's going to be close. I think we mentioned that, didn't we, before we looked? But
Yeah.
that's a lot of fucking jam across the Queen X block. It's calling more kings than Queen 10, which is not, before we've seen this image, it's not obvious to me that that should be the case. Let's go back to his range, actually. So there's a lot of aces in there pre. We want the weighted strategy. Actually, there's not. When we weight it, there isn't. But yeah, he's raising a lot of king queen, a lot of queen jack, queen 8 suited. So bets, raise, folds. We call. 10 was the ace of clubs, just an offsuit ace, yeah.
Yeah.
The SPR is going to be off, but we can see, you know, what we want to do against Champ. Yeah, and if he makes it 10, so if he bets half pot, keep in mind the raise size on the flop was a little bit bigger. Queen X is just pure in. It's just a little bit too high up for the bet size, I think. It's worth a lot too. That's Queen 9, not the same one. Queen 8. I would take these EVs with a pinch of salt, but you were looking at a big blind against half pot-ish. So against B25. Yeah, I think we want to be at least peeling. Maybe even shoving the 10 in position because we're so shallow, just to deny some equity from like King 7 of Hearts or whatever it might be. I guess we just give him a quick little, like a smaller raise on the flop. We call. What was it? 10 ace of clubs. Kind of sicky reg. You've got no blinds and you just get put in a tricky spot straight away with an
Yeah.
absolute animal of a player. Right, so
Yeah.
beat
The
33.
second hand is fucking.
Yeah, it's just not going to come out. I think there's. I mean, if we look at the bet size, translate that to a fold frequency, and think about what our range looks like. Let's get rid of this. There we go. There's just not enough folding going on before we get the Queen X.
And then what in the river? On like a blank or
It's
whatever.
a brick. So he's going to be betting 9 into 25. So again, we're not going to be folding much. So what are we
Yeah.
going to do with the onboard pair? We're probably going to be doing a lot of calling. Like, I might mix to fold. I might fold like 25%, but it's not going to get that much higher than that. You know, we still have some jacks and 10s on the turn. I think we still had Jack 10 suited, maybe. I didn't catch what we were doing with Jack 10 there, but I would have Jack 10 personally at this point. So obviously we don't need to defend Jack 10 in terms of MDF because we don't beat bluffs, right? But the point is the fold frequency is not that high.
Starts falling a bit.
Yeah. There's a little bit of fold there. I'm not sure why the graphic's shown like a split. It's a bit weird. But yeah, mostly call. That's just the way we need to play against these bet sizes. When someone's betting small, you're just not going to be doing a lot of folding.
Yeah, I mean, intuitively, I didn't really want to fold the turn, but it was tough. Like, it's a 10k that I misclicked.
Yeah, you don't want to spew it off, do you?
Uh,
But you don't want to play too tight and get
no, I
intimidated.
was happy to. I was, yeah, I was gonna be happy to spew it off, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about this one. I just
Yeah, so obviously we don't have the exact sim, but based on what we've just seen now, we're probably looking at pure call and then a lot of calls on the river if we face a jam.
I may as well do the last hand. Where am I going? Oops. Oh, yeah.
You're sending us into the matrix there.
Yeah. So this is the next hand. Just flat.
Yeah, looks good.
First one big
Raise.
blind.
Yeah, nice. Bet small. Yeah, perfect. And then obviously we don't have a decision. It's a little bit sad. He's going to have 10 sometimes, but
It's a bit
yeah,
big, is it?
I think the 10's good.
Bit
You could
smaller,
probably
maybe?
jam. No, I think we are shallow, but the 10's so good for us that I just think the bet frequency is going to be high, and I think it's going to have some of these small bets. We don't need as much protection as a hand like ace-8 of spades.
No, I'm
So we're
saying we
pushing.
should go smaller, maybe.
You want a bit smaller?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of hard to go smaller than B25.
This is 1/3. Or what is it?
Yeah, what's that, like 30%?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go much smaller. Maybe like three.
3 big blinds, yeah. That'd
Three.
be
Like it's not. I don't
more.
think it's a disaster. Like even if you make it like 2 or 2.5 because you're super short, I think that's fine. It's whatever. I think the EV is going to be the same. Yeah, it's going to happen a lot, but you priced in. So I think the Queen 10 one we should call, but I think that one was spot on.
And the Queen 10 one, like, you don't really blame me for folding either, do you?
What do you mean? Is it avoidable? Is that what you mean?
Like, it's not a blunder folding this turn.
So it's worth a lot of big blinds based on what we've just seen.
So it is a blunder.
It's a tricky spot, but I think if you've got the thought process there, if you've got the structure there in terms of just breaking down the bet size and thinking about what your range looks like on the turn and how much folding we're doing and where this hand sits, because like we say, we're only picking the worst 20% of the range. I think you can come to the conclusion that this is probably too high up.
So
Before you even
annoying
get there,
because
just focusing on the bet size and being small and us not folding is going to help.
yeah. I mean, I'm probably not folding. I mean, yeah. Anyway, let's get into the other stuff.
Right, let's get us caught up there. So should we see if we've missed any, the topics we were looking at before?
Yeah, I don't
Just
even
missed C
remember.
bets from EP.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We had a couple more. Let's take a look. Missed C bets on Broadway boards, and then button fold versus 3 bet. We had big blind ISO at 60 at deeper stacks, making sure we're hitting that wide value range when we ISO. Suited connectors, suited 8s, suited 7s, wide with the suited kings, all that good stuff. And then we did some fold to steal from the small blind. That was our last session.
Okay.
We were missing some like suited kings, suited queens, and then we were missing a lot of offsuit aces against the button. Do you remember, like, it was like ace 8 kept popping up? For some reason, we just
In
fucking
the
hated
small blind,
defending
yeah.
ace 8 offsuit. Yeah, small blind button.
I think you just have eye poker there.
Yeah, do we have any hands on eye poker? We have a little bit. Let's get your other. Let's get your other tournaments in. Your other sites in. Is it just BCP, the extra one? Or
Yeah,
any
but I
GG
haven't
in that
I haven't
sample?
really played in that this month.
Is this one you? Yeah, I need a lot
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll throw hero in there. Just for later. No hero. That's a problem. It's gonna look pretty
My
good, I
all in
guess.
adjusted big blind per 100 on the laptop was 11.5.
How many hands was it?
12,500.
I mean, if you can maintain that, that would be fucking a money print.
It
11.5
was,
bigs.
it's 4 in this, so average it out. It's like 7, 8.
RFI looks a little snug still. So I want to have a glance at that. Fault to Steel looks better. That's good, especially in the big blinds. Really nice. C-bet flop in position. Higher from the button. To be fair, it's a small sample. Like, I'm not gonna look too much into it, but yeah, I might look at the C-bet in position super quick.
Did you
The
play the
small blind limp
10k?
falls super high as well.
Did you play the 10k yourself?
No, just the 1K this year. Couldn't it? Well, I think scoop. Unless something happens between now and then, which is a disaster, we're probably going to flick it in, I think. Sell some action. Give it a shot. See if
Why
I can
not?
last 3 hands. Rub it in.
Yeah, yeah. I might flick it
Yeah,
in
let's get
today
some rolls.
too.
It's the 8th of the 10th, yeah. Is there anything specific you want to work on, or do you want to just crack on with the roadmap and just plug some of these leaks?
Um, yeah, just carry on. I haven't been playing much, so I wouldn't really know.
I tell you what, we look at something new then, and then when we've got more hands, we can have a little bit of a refresher later on with some of the topics we looked at before. But
That's a good
I think
idea.
this small blind limp falls is still too high. So this was one of the things we picked up on in your first DBA in April, was the small blind limp fold being too high. And with this new sample, it's still like 60%. So, and we've got a new filter for that, which should help. Where is it? Did I not save that fucking filter? Let's make it again. So, pre-flop calls.
I have to turn off the okay for children now.
So I've done this quite a lot recently. The small blind limp folds. And like some of the other spots we've looked at, Connor, there's a couple of heuristics we can use just to get us covering the bulk of the range. so we're not missing any. But yeah, how do you feel just in terms of blind versus blind, generally speaking, these days? Is that
Um,
any stronger area? Do you feel
yeah,
a little lost?
it's something that I need work on. I've also yeah, I've had somebody else tell me that as well.
Like a separate coach?
Yeah.
Right, we'll take a look. Get the blind levels down as well.
I don't
We
think
don't have
you
a ton of
can.
hands. Not going to be too many, but we'll see.
I don't think you can like buy a bunch of filters, can you? I remember Jordan saying he'd never sell his. Would you ever sell yours?
But I sell the filters.
Yeah,
It's a good question. Like a package,
yeah.
maybe. Make me an offer, mate. Make me an offer. I don't know. Listen, if someone asked me for one filter, they're like, "Can I have this filter?" I would just fucking give them it. I'm not going to charge someone money for a PT4 filter. But if someone was like, I want 100 leak finding filters,
How many
and I can
filters do you
send them.
have there?
I don't have too many. Like compared to Jordan, who has like 1,000 of the cunts, and I know it took him a long time to build them. Um,
Yeah, he said he'd never sell them. Someone offered him like 20K or something. He was saying.
but in terms of the leaks, what's that, like 20-ish? So not too many. But yeah, let's dive in. So
I'd say just one last thing. I'd say if you're
yeah,
getting one-on-one coaching, you should get it done on your own PT4. So the filter, so you get to keep the filter. Probably the coach puts
the
the
problem is
filter
most
into
coaches want to use their own machine so they can
yeah, so they can
manage the
access the
database.
filter. Yeah,
Yeah, and get the filters, exactly. Get the expensive filters.
£2.50 in an orange. It's Payday wants to offer you for the filters.
And an orange.
Yeah,
I would have took the 250 to be honest. Fucking bargain, bro.
nice.
That's a gem. Right, let's start with this one. So 40 bigs, 30 bigs, actually. Or only 30. Yeah, what does your range look like, roughly? Do you have a floor?
I probably should have opened
Percentage?
this. I prefer to open this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks like a good open to me.
There's gonna be yeah, as usual, as every session, there's gonna be stuff that I know is incorrect. Uh, so I wanna open a lot of the suited 10x. What are we 30? I wanna use some blockers and stuff.
Just realized I didn't post about the stream. Fucking amateur. Let's get that posted. Yeah, don't worry too much about the RFI because there's going to be a lot of mixing. Unless it's just a pure open. Just assume there's a little bit of limp there.
I'm just gonna cheat.
And just focus on, yeah, the defend after we raise. Don't be cheating, you. Don't be cheating. I'm watching you.
Right. Yeah, so like I didn't actually see that. For fuck's sake. RFI. I want to RFI a lot of pairs and stuff. I want to limp call a lot of the stuff that plays well, like Queen 10 suited in that area.
Yeah. So obviously we're not going to limp fold like pairs and suited broadways, but what's the bottom? Like, would you fold queen deuce suited? Would you fold king six? Would you fold 10-6, 8 deuce? You
Fold.
know, queen six off.
Well, as
So
in
what?
limp fold.
Yeah, so we're limping and we're facing a raise. That's the filter we're looking at.
Okay, right, yeah, yeah.
So when we limp the small blinds, we're folding too much.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We're just folding way too much. Now, it might be a problem with the limping range being off. So the first thing we want to do to figure that out, or at least to help us figure it out, is are we folding hands that are too high up and that we should just defend? That's the first question.
So the deuce X
Then defend.
on the suited side, the deuce X side be the first stuff I take out. I'm probably starting at Jack Deuce.
Yeah, so something like this.
Yeah. 9-5 suited.
How far down would you go, do you think?
5-4, 4-3 as well. Probably.
Something like
Suited
this.
connectors. Yeah.
What about offsuit? Start with the aces.
I'd be limp shoving a lot of those.
So you'd be playing the ace-x, yeah? What about the kings?
Yeah, maybe down to King 5 off.
Mm-hmm.
Queen 7. Jack. Jack 7.
Jack 7.
9-10 off for sure. 10-8 off. 8-9 off. And the connectors as well. 7-8, 6-7, 5-6, 5-4.
Yeah. This looks pretty wide to me. In terms of the offsuit block, it's probably going to be too wide in some spots. But in terms of the overall frequency, it's pretty good. But it doesn't match up with what we're doing in game.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do, I'd defend the suited combos a little bit wider. So like 6-4, 7-4. Basically, the floor of the suited block, unless you're facing a really big size or an ICM adjusted scenario, is going to be suited fours. Okay, so suited fours are going to be the bottom in terms of the suited block. Most of the face cards are going to be in. The worst suited combos are going to come out. And in terms of the offsuit side, it kind of depends on the stack depth. But for 30, 40, 50 plus, we're looking at offsuit 8s as the bottom. And then as we get shallower, especially if you face a smaller ISO, so if you face a 3x, you're going to see the offsuit 7s come in. And the stack size is going to determine how wide we go with the high cards too. So sometimes you might see a range like this, some king 6, queen 7. If we're shallower, you might see it come even wider, even further down if you face a 3x. These offsuit connectors, by the way, aren't worth that much usually against a 3.5, especially when you're deeper.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, the range you give me was pretty good. Tell you what we'll do. Pull up a sim. So I would defend the 10-3, personally. But it's pretty close. Like, it's not a disaster. It's not like we folded 10-5 suited. Yeah, we'll take a look in a sec. So, yeah, we'll defend that one. It's not the same. Yeah, so based on what we said, what do you think about this one at 20?
That's in, right?
Yeah, I think this one might be in. We'll check 40 first. Actually, we were 30 bigs when we were the 10-3 suited.
Yeah.
As long as it feels close, that's the main thing. Like, if it's mixing or it's just out or it's just in, as long as we're not folding pure defense, that's the main thing. But that's us at 30,
pure,
so...
Yeah.
suited
Probably comes
fours-
out at 20.
Which one?
Or, sorry, no. Jack 7 off probably comes out at 20, I was saying. But
We're going to defend more at 20.
Yeah, yeah. I just realized that.
Especially if the raise size is a 3x. So 7x is the floor. Someone mentioned yesterday, which I've heard before, that the defending range when we limp is pretty similar to a button open. Like a wide button open, like a 100 big blind button open, which is pretty close. But we do want to be a little wider with like I said, the suited fours. But yeah, you said king 5, spot on. I think you said queen 7, offsuit 8s. You're pretty much there. We just need to translate that to that unconscious competence in game. So let's check out 20. Small blind limps, big blind makes it 3. You can see the offsuit 7s now that the raise size has dropped.
They're pure in.
At 20, we're just in. So this one's a defend too.
We could probably go back to 30 there. I do a lot more. I don't know if this sample will show, but I do a lot more limp raising than theory because people ISO too much in the big blinds.
How much do people ISO in the big blinds?
Like
Do you reckon?
all the combos that they're supposed to weight to 50%. Like I'll check the HUD first, obviously, but they seem to be doing it pure for those combos, so you can just like limp raise quite small.
Yeah, you just make it like 9 or 10. 8.5.
Less 8 even,
Yeah.
because their range is polar and it's the offsuit trash that we're trying to fold out. You can just make it super small.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got hands on someone and you've got enough hands, and the big blind ISO stat is clearly like you've got a decent sample, it's way too fucking big. Maybe it's 50, 60, 70%. Yeah, attack it. Limp a lot. Re-raise a lot. Make sure you're finding limp jams with these offsuit aces. Sorry. Make sure you're limp jamming the pairs. Yeah, get after it. Just make sure you have some good information before you make any big adjustments. Because I think in aggregate, the last time I looked at big blind ISO, it was around 35% for population out of a $50 ABI, which is still too tight. No idea what it would be today though. But we could take a look towards the end if you like. But yeah, so Jack 7, just a pure call. So we missed one there. What do you think about this one?
Fold.
Yeah, outfolds. What about Queen 5?
That's out.
Mm-hmm.
That's out. Did I fold this? Yeah. Fuck's sake. Yeah, it's in. I could probably should probably raise not all in with this more often than flatting. Or shove even like. You won't get the 4.5x on GtoWizard.
Yeah.
Are you saying they have it on BBC?
I think they have. Where am I looking? I think they have 4 at 50 bigs, which is going to be pretty close. Let's check 40. Where's BVV? There we go. So that's 3.5. That's 4x. It's 4x. It's not going to come out at 4.5, but this answer's a little bit closer. But you can see going from 3.5 to 4, it's not a massive difference. So yeah, I would defend.
Why are
It's
people
intimidating.
making it so big? That's a bit too big, is it?
Probably fine on the deeper side. I mean, there's 2 answers. It's probably more than 2 answers, but one of the answers is people are just playing their hand, right? At the simplest level. Someone just has a nice hand, so they make it bigger than most people. Another answer is that's just the size they use, and they have a little bit more of a polarized range. They're not ISOing quite as much, but they're doing it to a bigger size. It's hard to say.
So if this, okay, so if it's answer 1, this hand is probably not worth much.
If they're making it 4.5 just because they have
A good
jacks and they want to
hand.
get the money in, yeah, maybe. I mean, if someone showed me jacks, I would just fold, right?
Or ace
But we don't know
queen or
what he
whatever.
has. That's kind of the point. We have no idea what he has. And if he's just playing somewhat reasonably, then folding this is going to be a disaster. So I would need to see, to give you an example of how I might adjust in this spot, I would need to see him make a 3x in one spot and then 4.5 in a similar spot.
Yeah.
Or I would need to more specifically see he makes it 4.5x at 50. We get the showdown, and he has ace king. And then he makes it 3x in the exact same spot, and we get the showdown, and he has
9-10
7-4
off.
offsuit. Now I'm making adjustments. But until then, I'm just going to play pretty solid, pretty clean. No big adjustments. Because this would probably be, against a 4.5x, a big adjustment, right? Based on what we've just seen.
Yeah. I think I did this. This wasn't like a miss. I did this consciously.
Yeah. No, I understand, but I would call. You can re-raise. Like, I don't think it's a disaster. If someone's isolating enough, 3-betting's going to be an option. Limp shoving's probably not the stupidest thing in the world, but it does seem a bit dicey. Just play. Just don't fold.
Come to play.
In the bin. This might be a jam, actually. Yeah, so just going back to what you mentioned earlier, Connor, with the 10-3, you said you would raise this a lot. So if we're limping these types of hands and then folding them too much, this is going to be one of the ways we can bring our limp fold down. Just make sure you're raising these types of hands a lot. Like if we go
And don't miss
go back to our
shoves.
30 big blinds sim, you can see these weak suited combos are very highly weighted in raise. Yeah.
I knew that. I knew that as well.
Just wanted to
So
check if 7-4
yeah,
shoves. I
12.
think it's fine though. Pretty close. I think at 12 it's gonna limp. Yeah, it's limping. So 7-5's the cutoff. But again, if you're limping too many, like 7-5s, 8-5s, 10-5s, jack-4s. Yeah. This one's a jam. Pre 10 bigs. That's the last one though. We don't have too many.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's easy. That's pretty easy to clean and well explained. So we'll focus on that tonight.
So what hands did we see? We saw offsuit 7x.
Yeah, you can see them
20.
right now. Offsuit 7x.
10-3 suited.
The ace 5, but that's just a freak thing. That's not gonna. That's not part of my overall strategy for sure. Missing the jack 8 off shove. Could maybe drill off some. I should probably drill some blind versus blind.
Yeah, so make sure to find the jams as well when it's shallow.
What was the jack 10 off there?
The jack 10 was, I think it was like 27 effective, and he just ships it. So that's fine.
Yeah, so it's not. It doesn't seem to be a big problem.
I think there would be a lot more. It's not a spot where you're gonna, even with a big database, you're not gonna see that many hands pop up because it's not that common.
Okay.
Oh
yeah, because
and we don't have many hands.
Everyone has to fold around to you for it to.
Everyone has to fold around to us in the small blind, and we have to not raise or jam, and the big blind has to ISO, which he's mostly not going to do. So there's just a lot of things which need to line up for this spot to exist in the first place. That's not to say you're not doing pretty well, but based on our first EBA and your stats today, we're going to be missing a couple at least. So start hitting those. And to be honest, from what I've seen up to now, Connor, you're pretty sharp with making improvements quickly. I would imagine that's going to drop pretty fast. Just keep an eye on it.
A legend.
And we'll move on to something else.
Yeah. We've got a few minutes left.
I'm going to test you on this one. Oh, we've missed one. Oh, shit. So this is the big blind ISO filter. One's really fucking good. Let's see. Let's see what you think about this one to finish up with the blind versus blind stuff. What do you think about this?
I think it's not even pure. It's not pure weight, is it? I saw.
It's kind of close, but it's either. So this is how I'm thinking about a hand like this. It's either pure raise or it's mixing.
Yeah.
And whenever that's the case for me, I would just ISO. Because the EV on that decision is going to be at least as powerful as one of the options, and maybe as high as the next option. So you really can't lose by isolating. But if it's pure and you check, it's not going to be worth that much. You're not going to lose a chunk of money, but you're still playing just a little bit too high up with the value, right? So I would ISO. I'd probably go King 5 suited. And that's just a result of the stack depth. We're going to have a wide value range there, so let's take a look. Maybe it's a good check at 60. So small blind limps. There's King 6.
Oh, it is pure.
But it is right at the bottom, so we'll let you off. And there's only one.
It's only one miss. That's
There's only one.
fucking deserve some sort of medal.
4-3 suited, 5-3, not mixing plus, King 6, suited 8s, and you're golden. Pretty much any ace as well when you get this deep. So yeah, missed one.
I don't really have much of an excuse with this sample as well because I didn't stream much during WCOOP.
How much does that affect your focus, by the way? Is it a small impact, or is it like pretty significant? You notice the changes when you're off stream?
Um, it's somewhere between the two. So it's not really small, but it's not huge either. But I just need to play less tables when I'm streaming. And be more selfish as well. Like I look at the chat. If anyone says anything, I always respond. I should maybe like I know a lot of the big stream, a lot of the good poker players that stream, we'll say, because there's big streamers that are more about the stream than the poker. But a lot of the good poker players that stream, they won't look at the chat for a good while until there's until they have a chance. And they'll miss loads of stuff. And maybe I just need to be a little bit more like that. Because if there's no chat and I'm just sitting there and I'm explaining stuff, I'd probably perform a lot better. But sometimes like during peak, nobody chats anyway because they're all just lurking and playing themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends. It depends if I get distracted by someone calling me names or whatever.
Whatever works for you, to be honest. It's hard for me to say. Just depends on how much focus you want to give to the stream. Obviously, your game's going to be affected by that, but like I say, it's up to you. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, something to think about for sure.
I'm gonna get us moving on to some missed C bets from EP, just to refresh a little bit because we don't have too long left, so I don't want to dive into a brand new topic.
Yeah,
I think the small blind.
Just the last thing on the streaming thing is that like, if you just play less tables, you've got time to focus and plenty of time to read the chat.
Yeah, so you can kind of do both. You just get a hit on your ROI for the table count, right? Maybe that's the trick then. Just play a little bit less. Like if you do want to be interacting with the chat regularly and you do want to be playing as well as you can at the same time, less tables is probably the best answer.
Yeah, until I clean up some of this stuff that is costing me money.
Yeah.
And now I'm very rich, so I don't need poker to live off. I don't need a return for a couple of months at least.
Right, let's crack on. What do you think about this one? So this is just so we're caught up. We're going back to our filter we looked at before, where we were missing C bets from early position. With your current sample, the 18K, we were C betting more from the button and less from EP. So we're going backwards in terms of the frequency, because obviously the later the position we open, the less we want to C bet. The tighter the range, the earlier the position, the more we want to C bet. Now, obviously, there's a sample size problem. It's not a massive amount of hands, but I'm just going to run some of these EP spots just to see, why are we not C betting too much from EP in the sample size, see if we've missed any.
So I've missed more from EP than I did last when we first did this.
Just in this sample, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But it like I say, if it's a sample size issue, then the actual hands we look at are going to be fine.
Right.
So
I doubt
we don't
it.
know for certain, but I mean, let's hope for the best.
Let's hope
So what
for
do you
the
think about
best,
this?
yes.
Let's pray.
Yeah,
What do you think about this?
pure check, pure raise. Or sorry, pure bet, pure bet.
There we go. Yeah, I would bet. So
Yeah, me
just going
too.
back to
I would, if I had to just say I was coaching someone and I saw them miss this C bet, I'd be yelling at them. So I don't know why I missed this one.
double Broadway, it's under the gun big blind. The aggregate frequency on this, first of all, this position is going to be around 85%. When we get a little bit deeper, it's probably going to drop. But it's going to be pretty fucking high. So that's our baseline. As soon as you throw in Broadway boards, especially when the nut ratio is low. So when we're deep, that's going to be a key factor in determining the C-bet frequency. If the nut ratios are a little bit of a problem, so if the board's monotone, for example, it's going to be a lot easier to C-bet a shit ton at 20 bigs or 30 bigs. Whereas when you're 100 deep, that nut ratio is a problem. So if the board's paired and the big blind has coverage and we don't have much, or it's monotone, or there are a bunch of straights available, that's going to be a problem when we're deep. But this is not the board where the nut ratio is a problem. Yeah. It's very low for the big blind. It's double Broadway, it's disconnected. It's disconnected in the sense there are no straights available, even though there are a lot of straight draws. So yeah, we're just going to bet. That's going to be the default. Even if we do want to have a check and range, this is the bottom of the range. So this is probably not going to check for much EV. So even if we want to check on this board, I would still bet this hand.
Yeah. Pretty low
So I'm
down.
always firing this. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking dust. It's probably going to fold pre, but we can look at like ace three hearts. Whatever. You could make an argument to check this if you want to have a super polarized C-betting strategy. Like if you say to me, I want to bet pot or check and have some checks. But even then, this hand's not going to be worth too much. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this shit. Or as long as you would bet if you played the hand now, that's good. That's what we want to see. So king 10 6. So my idea of betting pot was a good one, but it doesn't mean we have to check. Like the range advantage is still that huge. You can bet pot a chunk and bet everything else as well. Yeah, we don't have ace deuce, which we mentioned, but we got ace three. Just pure bet, just bet everything. The board's just way too good for us. Just to illustrate the range advantage there.
Yeah.
You've seen this before.
It doesn't even get close until the very top.
And even then, he's still kind of fucked.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
He just doesn't have kings. He doesn't have tens. So when you're looking at 100% equity, he probably has a little bit of tens. To be fair, this deep. So yeah.
Do you want to see if I win the hand at least? Jesus Christ.
This is a fucking disaster. This one.
Well, ace
by the
on the
time we get
river.
to the
The river
river-
is probably fine. I mean, once we've checked
I
down.
think the turns, okay. I think the river's gonna. This is the thing, right? We've checked twice in position on King 10-6 from under the gun. If you're telling me you get here with Queen Jack and Queen 9 and Jack 9 to bluff with, then fair enough. But there's just no shot that's happening. We're just not getting here with worse.
But from an exploitative standpoint, we're probably Ace High's probably beating his range. Like he probably doesn't bluff enough or stab enough rivers, and we're probably just beating his hand. Do you want to bet? Fiver.
You mean when we check? Yeah, we're gonna win a lot. I just don't give a fuck if we win a lot. I'm not concerned. I agree, by the way. When you say we're gonna win a lot when we check, I agree with you. I think we are. I just don't care because what I care about is I have some value bets on the river, and I need to offset that with some bluffs. And until I have a good reason not to, the hands I'm going to use to offset those are going to be the hands at the bottom of the range. So
Yeah.
the only argument for me here is you have worse hands that you can bluff with.
Which I don't.
I mean, maybe you check Queen Jack down to the river, maybe you have some Jack 9, like I say. But if you don't have those hands, Ace High is the hands is the block of hands that we need to bluff with, right? And again, even if we're mixing the Ace High block, we're gonna bluff the ones at the bottom. So we're gonna bluff Ace Deuce before Ace 3, and Ace 3 before Ace 4, and Ace 4 before Ace 5. So it's not. I'm not betting because I don't think I win when I check. I'm betting because I don't have a worse hand to bluff with. That's why I'm betting. Does that make sense? There you go.
I
You
would
probably would have. I mean,
lost.
I would have lost more, to be honest, but you get the idea.
Oh, you had a congratulations on your score actually.
I appreciate it, mates.
Something on GG, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the mystery main. It's not a main. What's it called? This, do you know the late one on Sundays? The juicy one.
I can't
It's like a
really.
108.
Yeah, I can't really play on G. I can't get much money on. But
Have you got deposit limits and stuff like?
yeah,
That fucking sucks. That sucks. Yeah, I'm gonna skip the small blind for now.
and top set is probably fine to check.
What do you think about this one?
Yeah, first, under the gun is probably pure C bet flop. Nice
Yeah.
to have a heart as well.
I would just bet. I would bet. So the way I'm approaching these spots, the first thing I'm doing is I'm just looking at the hand like this. That's the first thing I'm doing. I don't really give a fuck what's going on under these cards just yet. We need to know what they are, right? For later. But right now we don't need to know what they are, which might seem counterintuitive if you just start out. But it's kind of fucking irrelevant. In the same way, having ace deuce of diamonds on king 10-6 is irrelevant because we're betting range. And I think this is going to be, again, it's a Broadway board. There are no high nut ratios to worry about. It's a super strong open. We are more towards middle position now, so that might have an impact. But still, I think a jack high board, jack 9-3. We have really good interaction with the 9 as well. It's just going to be super hard to see a check on this board. So I would just, B40 with range, something like that.
It's kind of embarrassing that I'm missing all these.
Jack 9-3.
If it's something I didn't know,
Yeah, just a range bet. So once you've came to the conclusion, if you do in game that you want to mix, then we think about the hand class. Yeah. So we start with the range. Sometimes starting with the range is going to give us a shortcut to a really good answer, like I'm going to bet with our ace deuce or our pocket sixes, which makes things a lot easier. It's also going to let us capture more EV, obviously, because we're going to be closer to the optimal strategy. If you do want to mix, that's when we start thinking about, okay, I have an underpair. How does this fit into the range? Is this going to fit nicely into a checking range? Is it in the middle? Is it at the top? Is it at the bottom? Where is it? and then you can think about the combo. Like you mentioned, we have a heart, so whatever conclusions you draw from that, you can start considering those things, but after the range. Step one is always the range, yeah. Yeah, it's mixing sizings, whatever. Like I said, B40, I wouldn't use two sizings personally, but you can. This one's interesting. What do you think about this one?
This one's a bit more difficult. 6, 7, 10. Big blind has a lot of interaction. I don't think it's going to be a range c-bet. And yeah, I think Ace King is fine to check back. The problem is it's very hard to win the hand later on.
Yeah, so do you think we have mixes on this flop? It sounds like the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like you do want to mix the flop. I agree, by the way. I think when we get this deep, especially on a board like this, there are straights available, very connected. I think betting range is going to be tricky even from this position. So I might see bet a little bit more polarized, maybe B60 and check. But I think having checks on this board makes sense. And then we need to think about where does this hand fit? Feels quite middling, right? Feels kind of middling. So is this a reasonable hand to check? Yeah, probably. So this one for me isn't a big concern. Like the ace deuce in the pocket sixes, I think are a problem, but this one for me is pretty defensible, pretty reasonable. Let's go 60, UTG1. Let's have a look. We can still bet though. So just keep in mind, it's unlikely that this is just going to pure check. Especially when we've got the good suits, right? When you think about which suits we want to invest money in with on the flop, it's going to be clubs, hearts, and spades, yeah?
Yeah.
So I would mix. I would mix.
Can we
If
have
you're
a
always
look?
checking these types of hands, this is where you're probably going to be driving that check frequency up again. If there's too many. Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
Can we just have a look at the reports of all, like, the highest frequency bet flops and...
Yeah, of course we can. So that's us. There's not much checking, but 25% is pretty significant. It doesn't really bet small. I said I would bet polarized. So that all seems to match up nicely. Ace King, it's not betting pure. To be honest, it's not. I thought the diamond combos would be more weighted towards check. So I'm going to check out the AI then, ask it, see if it agrees, or maybe it's just not that relevant. But yeah, we can dive into some reports. Just to answer the question in the chat about when the range bets stop.
That's why I was asking about the reports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we see the report, just generally speaking, if the board's 10 high or above, and you don't have a really good reason to check, a really good reason to check would be a high nut ratio or we're super deep and it's a problem. If you don't have a good reason and the board's Broadway, you're going to be c-betting a lot. So if the board's got a 10 on it, a jack on it, a queen, a king, an ace, and you don't have a really good reason to check, just bet range. Because worst case scenario, your hand's going to usually mix. It's pretty rare that you find on a Broadway board any hands not betting sometimes. It's when you're checking on range bets. That's kind of the problem. That's what we're trying to manage. This is why the AI is just goaded, because now it's like diamonds fucking suck, bro.
Yeah.
Which is how it feels to me as a player. This makes more sense to me than the previous sim, but if it's a CFR sim, it's going to be pretty accurate anyway. So, but this makes more sense. This is kind of easier to implement. Like ace nine of diamonds is kind of mid. Diamonds kind of sucks. That makes sense. The whole strategy all adds up. B60 or check looks like it's a good option. But yeah, nice check with the ace king.
And then we just have to lose.
Yeah, it's going to happen somehow, especially on a 10 like that, which doesn't really favour us. Was not great. Did you say you wanted to look at some reports, Connor? Yeah,
Yeah, we can just finish
if need
off.
be. Mm-hmm. What stack size would you like? Would you like shallower? Would you like deeper?
Let's sit in the fence. Let's go 40.
Body. We'll go under the gun. Big blinds. Yeah. So what you're gonna see is when you get towards the 9 and 8 high board, you're gonna see a big drop off with the bet frequency. So what we'll do first, we'll filter by high card. Big blind's gonna check. How do I sort this by like ace high, Connor? Do you know?
I know nothing.
Same, bro. Big GtoWizard noob.
If you want to sign up to GtoWizard, there's a link in the description for 10% off. Why do diamonds suck? Because there's no diamond on the board, which means our opponent's going to have more backdoor flush draws that he can check raise.
At the margin, the EVs are going to be pretty similar, but if we, especially if we use the sizing the AI was spitting out on the flop, which was 2/3, there might be some gut shots or some pairs that are kind of indifferent. So when you think about which hands he's going to continue with, especially at the margin, he's always going to prefer King 6 suited with the onboard suits, with the backdoor flush draw. So we block more continues. I think being able to barrel and block flush draws on the turns also valid, pretty important. But yeah, we just want to invest in a way that maximizes the fold equity when we've got a hand like this. So the diamonds just kind of blocks his folding range a little bit more than the other suits. But it's not like the EV is going to drop off a cliff just because we have a diamond. But at the margin, if you're going to pick which suits to barrel, it's going to be the onboard suits. Then on the turn, it's going to be the opposite, right? Because he's going to be folding the backdoor flush draws. So we want to use diamonds on the turn if it's a brick. Yeah, Connor pretty much nailed that one though. In terms of the suits, yeah. So how the fuck do you do this, man? It's something super easy. Like this is just a button somewhere staring at me.
What do you want?
I just want to filter this by like ace high, like go from ace king, queen jack. You know.
Oh, where's ace now? Oh yeah,
There,
2, 3. It's filtered
there we go.
by the amount you
There we
should
go.
bet, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
we got it. I knew it was fucking obvious. Just filter by cards instead of the check frequency.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is why we're looking at what we're looking at. So these 5.
So 2 and 3 high are paired board, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you can't have.
Yeah.
So that's like bet 1 big blind type stuff. Although it seems to have bigger sizes there.
Yeah, obviously on the trip boards, so deuce high just means deuce, 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 right? They're pretty rare, but that pre-flop asymmetry, which belongs to our overpairs, is just going to be way too significant to be doing any kind of checks on the triple boards. The triple boards for us as the pre-flop aggressor with all the overpairs is going to be the type of board we see bet a shit ton on and bet big. And then 3 deuce deuce or 3 deuce 3 3 deuce. It is paired, but I think keep in mind this includes 3 3 3 as well. So that's another trip board where we would be driving in bets. There's just not that much interaction for the big blind. But if we remove the tripled out, you can see the 3x is the outlier, but as soon as we get past this 10, so we go from ace through 10, we get to this 9 through 4. This is where the checks come in. But again, even the 4 high boards, if we look at 4 3 3, 4 deuce deuce, the interaction for the big blinds a little bit more limited there too.
How come the 3 is the only pure c-bet?
I think it's
the
just the lack of interaction. I think it's just the big blind's defending range has much less deuce x, 3x, 4x, 5x in it.
No,
right?
I
When we look at the
mean,
big blind,
why isn't the king and the ace high boards not? Why are they not pure?
these ones,
Yeah.
There's going to be some boards where you want checks on a king high board, like king 7-7, for example, where the big blind has a lot of trips.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to bet range on those boards. There's going to be some king high boards which are mono. There's going to be some ace high boards which are mono, which might have checks. It's more common when we're deeper that we want to have checks on those boards, but
All right.
yeah. So that's our high cards. I'll just fly through some of the different categories. You can see mono, we do more checking. The size and smaller too. This isn't always the case when it comes to c betting in position, but 40 bigs, we do more checking on mono. We're gonna be betting mono a lot when we're shallow. Essentially, is what I'm getting at. Paired, pretty much the same, but we bet a lot smaller. No ratios are a concern, so we bet smaller. Connectedness, more on disconnected and smaller on disconnected, which again pretty consistent. This relationship. But just to kind of answer your question there, Connor, with the king high boards, we'll go king high. We'll filter by check. We'll take a look. So we've got some king 9-9. We've got some king 8-3 mono. We've got some king 8-6 mono. Basically, every board I'm seeing, unless I'm missing one, is either monotone or paired.
Yeah.
If you're in game and you see a board which isn't monotone and it isn't paired and it's Broadway, your default,
should be
your
bet.
first answer should be, I need a fucking bet. Yeah. Yeah, we're finally getting into some different boards as we move up. Like King Queen Deuce. There's a little bit of check. King 8-7 looks like it's. I'm assuming just because the 8 and the 7 are really good for the big blinds. But before you show me this, I would just see bet range on King 8-7 personally. And I think the bet frequency is high enough that you probably could. I would just bet a little bit smaller. Yeah. That's a lot of fucking bet.
Yeah.
So you could implement that strategy and use 20 different fucking sizings and a little bit of a check and try and manage all of them. Or you can just like B40. And just capture all the EV. But yeah.
Bet one.
We'll call it there, Connor.
Try 1/3 there just before you go.
Just 33. Just to get us up to range.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Spot on.
All right. Thank you, Caldini. I'll see you next week. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching on YouTube. And we'll see you next week.